flat. The one cigarette away from death look get the best of me, and I know it shows. My head to my toes, but it's all I know. In my skin I scream, my best friends, won't you ruin my life? Won't you do it again? Oh, I'm caught in a rush. Yeah, you're fucking me up with your hands on my neck. I can't take it. A smile and flirt. Oh my God, does it hurt when your lips are right there to be tasted? But say you take me home and love me like you're on. When we wake up, it's over. I love to dance.
Yeah. Just so I have this. Let me make sure that's recording. Yeah, okay, awesome. So again, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate this.
Thank you for having
And
me. Yeah.
let's just jump into these questions. So can you give our audience a bit of background on yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So my name's Jackson Velli. I grew up in Washington, D.C., and that's kind of where I got my start playing music. I used to play in a two-piece brother band with my little brother called Cat Jack. And between the ages of, I don't know, when we were like 5 and 4, all the way through high school, we were just playing gigs together. And then in college, I kind of reinvented my musical project to Picture Us Tiny, which is a solo project with a reoccurring cast of characters kind of helping fill in on the live side and helping me write some of the songs. But yeah, I went to Syracuse University for college, and then now I live in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm just trying to survive, man.
I feel that. No. So where did the band name come from?
That's a funny question. I honestly like it. It doesn't really have any. Well, let me say this. At the start, it didn't really have any further meaning. I was kind of just going like just making lists of just random band names, and Picture Us Tiny sounded really nice. I was like, wow, that kind of rolls off the tongue. That sounds like a band that makes the type of music that I set out to create. So I rolled with it. Since then, I've kind of given it a bit two different meanings, one serious, one not. The more serious one is like a lot of the music is about like just being young and being like looked down upon in society. So I think like people picturing like our generation as tiny, as like kids. I think that comes through in the music a lot. The less serious one is a dick joke, so take that as you will.
No, I definitely see both messages, but the first one I definitely see because a lot of your music is just it has that like classic like punk emo like rage where it's like just kind of finding your place in the world, but also like realizing that the world sucks and like wanting to fight against that. But kind of sorry, well, I completely lost my train of thought. But you are pretty big on TikTok. We were talking about this before we started recording. How'd you like what got you started on TikTok and what have you kind of learned along the way?
Yeah, I guess when I was starting Picture Us Tiny, like the actual project, it was in 2020. So it was literally like COVID, nothing was happening. And being a band or being an artist, especially an artist that makes the type of music that I make, like music that's meant to be played live, that's meant to be toured, that's meant to be like people dancing and stuff. It's like, how do you break through when none of that shit can happen? And luckily, like I was a music business major, so I was learning pretty early on the importance of TikTok for artists. And yeah, I mean, it was just a lot of experimentation. I've honestly gone through like a few different like eras on TikTok. Like my first kind of big break on TikTok was doing a lot of like pop punk covers of popular songs, and that's where the Taylor Swift cover Forever and Always Tiny's version came about. So that was like a big first moment. That's how I kind of like started to grow the audience a little bit. And then it took a little bit to try to like take that audience from, you know, wanting pop punk covers versus like focusing on, hey, these are the songs I'm writing because I think that's what I'm most proud of is like my songwriting and my storytelling. So yeah, it was a lot of experimentation. It's just honestly a lot of it's just posting into the oblivion and like seeing what happens. But the second something clicks, like I always find that like I try to double down on it and really, really go at it because the beauty with TikTok is, you know, like who cares if you're posting the same thing twice, right? You could get a million views and then a million different people could see it the next time you post it, you know?
Mhm.
So it's kind of it's like honestly, I know a lot of artists like complain about TikTok, and I have my reservations about it too. I think it's really hard. It's like a little mind numbing, but at the same time, we've never had a tool like this as an artist, like as artists to like reach this amount of people. So I'm just trying my best to take full advantage of it. And, you know, I encourage artists to try it, but obviously it's not for everyone. I know it's grueling, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's my take on it.
I always loved you used to do you sometimes still do them sometimes, but it's like I remember when Jackson You're Dying was coming out, I put punk music into an AI generator,
Yeah,
and and I remember so many people be like, is this AI generated? And
yeah.
they
So
completely fell for the bit.
yeah, so yeah, I mean, I feel like I've noticed that a lot, like just with my years on TikTok, like trying to find little bits to like bait comments. So that was definitely one. And I can't believe that worked twice. Like it worked for Jackson You're Dying and Christmas on My Own.
Yeah.
Like both those videos went crazy. My other bit that I do, I think, is like I feel like a lot of times I'm like super unanimated. Like I'm just like staring at the camera
Yeah.
like I'm like dead. And everyone's like, dude, like what are you doing? My friend texted me about that the other day. He was like, why do you not like headbang or like show emotion? I'm like, dude, it's the bit. Like, just relax. Like, I got it.
I love how you've kind of learned to own that in TikTok, and you just make it part of your character on TikTok.
Mhm.
Because I feel like that's what you have to do at TikTok now, is like become a character to sell your brand. And
Exactly. Yeah.
you do it so well. Um I love seeing artist TikToks, and I feel like um there are a few other bands that I've seen. Magnolia Park has done some really cool stuff.
They're great. They're
Um,
such like a good reference for like bands in our scene in terms like they were honestly the OGs like really grinding on
yeah.
TikTok.
And I speaking of other bands, you've done some really cool like collabs and also live shows with other artists. Do you have any like favorite ones you've done?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like my really good friends, Pop Tropica Sluts, like they've been pretty instrumental, like in putting Pictures Tiny on a little bit because you know they're a little further along in their career. They're signed to Epitaph, and I've been able to do some really cool shows with them. Like literally like we did their first show ever. We did like a little festival like right after COVID. Like we put on it was called Glamour Ball, and it was a
Mhm.
lot of just kind of up and coming like alternative artists, and we put it on like fully independently in Brooklyn.
Yeah,
That was a great show just because it was like their first show. It was a big deal. Um, I mean, recently, like I just had my EP release show, which was really cool. It was like my first like headliner in a while,
yeah,
since like school. And that was really fun playing like the new songs because honestly, like I haven't like been able to have like a longer set in a while. So it was cool like playing the EP straight through and then like pausing for a second and then playing some of the other ones. And we got to do Christmas on My Own for the first time on that show just because it never makes sense to play
yeah,
live. It's like
yeah.
seasonal, but like that was obviously like after Thanksgiving. So it was like, yeah, let's rip it.
Yeah, I managed to catch that live when you're streaming on TikTok, which again, that's super smart to like stream concert stuff on TikTok.
Yeah. Thanks for
But that
watching.
was
That's awesome.
that was really cool. And I loved how you I loved hearing you play the new music. It was great. So speaking of the new EP, what you kind of like did, I'm looking at your Instagram right now, and you
Yeah.
kind of launched your whole social media with with like starting with animated videos, and then photo shoots kind of leading into the whole brand of Tiny's Diner. So can you give us a idea of like where Tiny's Diner came from and what that's leading into?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, on the surface, I like just holistically, I was kind of looking at like bands in our scene a little bit, and this is not to throw shade in any capacity, but like I feel like alternative bands, pop punk artists, like usually stray away from world building. Um, and I think like a little bit of world building can go a long way in terms of engaging your audience and like creating like a just a narrative surrounding a project. So um honestly, like it was probably inspired by like the Denny's meme, like the pop punk show, the Denny's, just because I feel like
Yeah.
pop punk and like diners are like weirdly like related. Um, And so like I thought, what's a cool way to, world build a little bit, have some like narrative surrounding the music, and just try to create like some consistency like within like the rollout strategy. Because honestly, like this is my first like project I put out since like the very first album in 2020. And
Yeah.
like I'm really like there's still songs on that album that I love. Like I think it's a solid album and I'm proud it's out. But like honestly, I wasn't like ready to put out an album. I just put out an album and started my
Yeah.
my artist career. So I definitely wanted to like take a lot of care in the product and like just like the narrative going out. So yeah, I mean it was like it's loosely based on the diner that I grew up going to as a kid. I think like the suburban aspect of it is very like intertwined with, pop punk and alternative music. And yeah, I mean it doesn't have like a crazy meaning behind it, but it's more stems from, my desire to try to like always build on the brand, like level up the project every time.
Yeah.
Like I'm putting something out at this point. So yeah, that's basically where it came from. And shout out like so the guy that did the 3D animations is this guy Alec the Average. He's phenomenal. I've worked with him on a bunch of stuff throughout the years, but like this was some of like the craziest work. And then
Yeah.
my friend Helen took all the photos and she's amazing and she took photos at the EP release show too. So shout out those two.
I thought it was really cool. The photos you did like completely matched the colors and the aesthetic of the 3D stuff, which I thought was really cool. Um, so I do agree with the word building though. Like I'm a big fan of MCR and especially their Killjoy
Exactly, yeah.
album. Killjoys and Black Parade just they build this whole world and story, and I love when artists do that. And I think you're totally right that it needs to be done more. And you're totally like building a world through like your TikToks, kind of building one side of like all these like characters you play, like the AI one, which is so much fun. But I love how you're just building this whole world through your work. I'm actually scrolling through Instagram right now, and seeing the dead face thing you were talking about is the paused face on a lot of these. But speaking of your TikToks, what was it like doing like a TikTok with your family for the Christmas on my own thing? I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, I think I like reposted that because that went pretty viral last year, and I was like,
Mm.
oh, let me throw it up again. But it was super funny. It takes a lot of convincing because like I mean, my brother's a pretty good drummer and he knows music, but my parents, believe it or not, like, and they'll say this themselves, are like completely tone deaf. So
Yeah,
like, it takes a lot of convincing. Honestly, that video, have you seen the one where we covered 1985 by Bowling for Soup?
I haven't yet. No.
That was the first time that I convinced them to do a family video, and that one's really funny because my dad actually sings in that one,
Yeah,
and my brother plays drums in that one.
yeah,
So, um, that honestly, like I was like, this is like you guys need to hear me out. This is gonna go viral. You just need to make a fool of yourself for
yeah.
like an hour. Like let me just do this. And sure enough, it did really well. Actually, Jared Reddick from Bowling for Soup now follows the Pictures Tiny TikTok because of that video, which is really cool.
That is so cool. What is it like? Have you had any experiences like that, being able to engage with like other artists, like even one, like it doesn't even have to be like ones you like have listened to since you were a kid, but what's it like being able to be in the artistic scene and engage with other artists?
Yeah, I mean, it's super cool. There's like a lot of, especially since moving to New York. I moved in July. Yeah, July. I've just honestly been able to be way more connected with bands and people that I love. More recently, do you know the band Super American?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've honestly been one of my favorite bands for a really long time, and I finally am like kind of like getting into their inner circle a little bit, which is cool. So it's been cool to meet those guys and like it's just hilarious. Like I saw Free Throw after like I saw Free Throw a few like a month ago, and
Hmm.
Tage from Hot Mulligan like they just put out a song together. Like Tage
Yeah.
did a feature on it. We were just like walking around like after the show, and I'm like just I just see Tades on the street. I'm like, dude, like I have to say what up. Like you were like how like this is a secret about my not a secret, but just so you know, Hot Mulligan is by far my favorite band right now. Like I just
Mhm.
love those dudes.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, honestly, it's always like kind of cool, but I try not to like put people on a pedestal and just like try to
yeah,
connect as like human beings because like if there's if there's ever gonna be something like going forward in terms of like a relationship, like you can't like go at it too aggressively. It's like you're just trying to like network and become
yeah,
friends and build that way. So
absolutely. I totally agree with that. So off of the kids menu, which first off, I want to ask, was that name just inspired by the whole like diner aesthetic you were going for?
yeah, I mean, I guess a little bit of background. I I, I had just played back in DC like earlier, like at the very beginning of the summer.
Yeah,
And I was driving back to New York with my roommate and my girlfriend, and like my roommate was dead asleep in the back of the car, and I'm like just getting this like crazy spur of thoughts, and I just start like talking about how like what if I did this EP with these demos that I need to finish, and it's called the kids menu, and it's all diner theme, whatever. And then I'm like talking, I'm like my girlfriend's to the side of me, I'm like, Grace, like take out your phone and like write all this down because I'm like literally
yeah,
driving. So so honestly, I owe her a lot of credit for like just writing down like my random like thoughts
yeah.
during that drive. But yeah, it came about during then. Like she helped me kind of like we were just listening to like old demos and stuff and picking the ones that we thought should make the EP and then
Mhm.
like ultimately finish. So um yeah, I mean it kind of just all came together in this random 5 hour drive that back from DC after playing a show. But yeah, that's basically where the name came from.
That's really cool. And I I really love this EP. I think I remember where I was when I was driving home from a friend's house and The Earth is Flat and I'm Staring Off the Edge had just come out.
Mhm.
So I put that on and just drove home and that song is so powerful. I
Thank
love
you.
I love how tonally different at first it feels like from the rest of your work, but the emotion is just there like the rest of your work,
Mhm.
which which I just wanted I wanted to know because where like that song came from.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, thank you for saying that because, like, in all honesty, that song is probably like my personal like favorite thing that I've been able to write and produce. And I wrote that song honestly like 2 years ago, um, when I was like going through like definitely not a good time.
Yeah,
Like obviously you can tell from the lyrics and the way I was kind of promoting it on TikTok is like, you know, this is a song I wrote during like an existential crisis. I'm not saying like it was that bad, but
yeah,
you get what I'm saying. Like it was definitely not like the best part of my life. Um, and so I wrote this song. I had this demo for about 2 years, and it was always like I know personally this is like the best thing I've ever written, but it never like kind of fit
yeah,
what I was doing at that time. Um, and I guess like it I don't know, something clicked. It finally made sense. I was like, this is gonna be the third single. Like this song needs to come out. It needs it needs its light. Oh my goodness. It needs its light of day.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, honestly, like I'm so grateful that you like point that one out because yeah, it is like it is sonically different and tonally different a little bit, but I honestly think too, I'm like starting to write music again, like now that this EP is out. And it's obviously like I'm not going fully in that direction, but I think like the next stuff is gonna be like sonically a little bit more mature in that style.
Mhm.
Um, so that's I guess something to look out for. But yeah, I mean, thank you for bringing up that song because like I am really proud of, you know, the writing on that and stuff. I was just trying to be Phoebe Bridgers and Elliott Smith, man. That's
Yeah.
and then like
I
yeah,
no, I totally feel that. I love when like especially punk artists who typically like I feel like minus like certain bands, I feel like a lot of punk music feels like very just screaming,
right.
but this felt like there was so much depth to it. And that's what I really like about this whole album is that there or EP, there's so much just depth to a lot of these. I don't even have a favorite. I do love Crash Test Dummy though. The beginning of that song, the like audio track is so good. And I also love how you did a song that relates to the whole world building thing, Eat at Tiny's Live Forever.
Mm.
I was looking through I don't know if you're the one who's doing this, but on Genius, someone has been going through and like detailing the meaning of each song, and it's so helpful to like go through that and just see like what you meant behind a lot of songs, which have been really great.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, I used to do it for like the old stuff. Um, and I always put the here, I'm gonna look. I always put the lyrics up, um, like myself, but let's see.
Because I know it's on some of the older stuff.
Yeah, if it's some of the older ones, like on the album, I definitely that was me, because I was like, oh man, like I don't know, like there's funny stories behind these songs. Like let me just like, expose myself.
I always love when artists do that and like learning like what the intention was, because especially with like more indie artists, it's sometimes hard to like, unless they're doing like unless you're doing like videos behind each one, it's sometimes hard to like learn the meaning behind some of the songs.
Yeah, 100%.
Um,
I feel you on that.
and I love how each album, like the images from it have become like part of your brand. Like your guitar has like all these stickers on it, and
Yeah,
Christmas
yeah,
on Our Own video.
yeah. This
Also,
was I got this right at the beginning of the Pictures Tiny project, so I've just been slowly like adding stuff to it. But
I seriously love every sticker. Um, I just love how like so many of them have to do with your brand. And then, but do you have any like favorite stickers on there that are really personal to you?
hmm, I mean, there's a lot of cool ones. So Fort Reno is a park in DC.
Mhm.
And I used to like go there all the time. Honestly, they were pretty influential in the DC like emo scene. I mean, DC essentially created emo music. But Fort Reno was this huge park, and they would put on summer concerts. And Fugazi used to play there all the time, like Ian MacKaye, like Minor Threats, side project. Um, but this sticker is actually my homie's skate brand called Fort Reno, based off of the park. And then obviously Picture is Tiny, like on the first album, I have a song called Fort Reno. So I think
Yeah,
it's like it's just a funny like place and name for DC that like kind of holistically checks a lot of boxes. Um I don't know, like the Consent is Sexy one I got when I was clubbing in Berlin abroad, which was kind of cool. Um what are other ones? Calvin and Hobbes on the bottom. I love
oh, I
Calvin.
absolutely love that. I'm a huge Calvin and Hobbes fan, so I
Yeah.
thought that was really cool.
Smash Records is a super like dope record store in DC that like I played one of my first shows at when I was like, I don't know, like 7 maybe. Um, there's a lot on here. I could talk about this guitar for too long, so I'm putting it away.
It's it's so cool, and I love I care the there was this artist, I have to look it up now. They had this machine this I think it says This Machine Kills Fascists,
Batches, yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
What artist is that? Oh
uh
no, I think it is it Rage? It's probably Rage Against the Machine, or no?
um it's uh it's Woody Guthrie.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I always love when artists just brand like make everything part of the brand. And I'm just excited to see what y'all are gonna do next. Um, but kind of back to your origins, what are some of you've listed a ton of bands. What are some of your biggest influences on Picturesque Tiny?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, like Blink 182 and Green Day were like the first bands that I ever fell in love with. Like honestly, like the like just that going back to the guitar, like obviously Billy Joe Armstrong had his guitar blue that had stickers
Yeah,
all over it and it looks kind of like that. And then that actual guitar is a Tom DeLonge like Fender Strat, um, which funny enough, they literally just put out a reissue for like within the last year. So now a lot of people have this guitar, but just showing off a little bit. This is an OG 2003 one. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, I do have like I'm super grateful that I have it, but it's funny. Like I used to have like a super rare guitar, and then they put out the reissue, and I'm like, all right,
Yeah. It's like,
yeah,
oh,
but
now everyone's gonna have this.
yeah, but the stickers make it unique, so
Yeah.
it stands on its own. But yeah, to go back to your question, I mean, yeah, Blink and Green Day were the first bands I ever fell in love with. I mean, I think like part of the reason I make music today is because of them and just learning their songs and like playing their music. I mean, the beautiful thing about pop punk is like it's really easy, man. It's not difficult to play. And I think that's like where um like my love for music like has been able to like endure so long
Yeah.
is because when I was a kid, like I feel like a lot of kids get like pushed away from music because of like they're playing like classical music or they're playing like difficult stuff on the guitar or they're taking piano lessons with like an old lady. It's like music
Yeah.
should be fun. It should be about writing songs. And that's what the beauty of like pop punk is. It's like I was able to like learn how to play one of my favorite songs when I was like maybe 6 years old. Like it's
Yeah.
not a difficult genre. So yeah, I mean totally like those two bands. And then as I've grown up, they are just such a gateway for like the My Chemical Romances, the Paramours,
Yeah.
um, and I think like even today, like more recently, like within the last like 5, 7 years of my life, like I've tried to expand a little bit outside of just like pop punk emo. So
Yeah.
like Elliott Smith, I had mentioned earlier, is a a huge influence for me just because of his songwriting. And then naturally like the Phoebe Bridgers is like a
Yeah.
perfect like example after that. So I'm trying to like build my influences not just super secular but like just broadly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm inspired by a shit ton of stuff, obviously.
That's really cool. I think it do you think it shows in some of your songs, like, and do you think it'll show more going forward that evolution out of just listening to pop punk and listening to other genres? Not like your music will like change genres, but like,
Mhm.
do you think the sound will evolve with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm always just kind of reinventing myself like a lot anyways. And part of the reason like the Kids Menu EP like kind of stood for a period of time, it was like these are like a bunch of songs that I wrote during like the last like year and a half, 2 years. And they're not like sonically exactly the same, but they all have like sort of like a sonic, connection. The next thing that I'm gonna put out, I don't like down the road is definitely gonna be something more like sonically consistent. I don't know if it's gonna be an EP or an album, but I'm writing all the songs from scratch again, and I I have a desire to like create something that's sonically very consistent. So I honestly forgot the question, but
No, you answered it. It was I'm definitely interested in seeing what's
oh yeah,
going.
influences. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what you're gonna come up with going forward. What so you said you moved to New York. What are you up to in New York now? Like, since graduating college and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so um currently unemployed actually, but I was working for a label called Pack Records. So I mentioned earlier I was a music business major and I love like the music business. I love like working in it as not an artist as well because especially on like the TikTok stuff, I was doing creative direction and like digital marketing. So basically I was just like my biggest like help to the company was like, hey, like I did all this stuff on TikTok for myself, like I know how to like create a
Yeah,
narrative on social media. So I was doing a lot of that stuff. And it was super cool. Fortunately the company is just like a small company. It couldn't pay the consultants anymore. And so we're back to square one a little bit. I mean, I'm probably just like, I mean, I'm looking for work. We'll see. It's probably gonna be after the new year. But I definitely want to like try to do something in the music business because, I think I have a lot to offer. And it just helps. It's like it helps with contacts, like for myself, and like everyone's just trying to build together, you know?
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily matter if it's like you're working on the business side or you're on the artist side. Like everything's like related, and all those connections and contacts are like we're all gonna help each other in the long run. So like, yeah, that's the goal is like to try to do the music business side of stuff, and then also like my own stuff at the same time until, you know, hopefully one of them succumbs the other,
Yeah.
hopefully the artist, but
Yes. I totally feel that. As someone who's in a creative major right now, like I totally get what you're going for. Like find that whole balance of being able to do your creative dream, but also being like, I need money at the
yeah,
same
exactly,
time.
100%.
Like
Yeah,
it's it's crazy. I was like, uh, it's what all our parents are like, you shouldn't go to school for creative stuff. And then it's like, no, we're like, you're definitely showing that you can do that, which I think is really cool.
thank you. I was gonna ask, I mean, we don't have to talk about it now, but I was gonna ask, so you write comics?
Yeah, so I write comics and film scripts.
That's
Uh
so cool.
I'm going to
I'm a huge comic book nerd, so like
Oh really?
that's cool.
What are some of your favorite stuff?
My favorite series, like I used to love the Ultimate Spider-Man series growing up. Like
Yeah,
I read the shit out of those. I mean, I love Batman too, obviously.
yeah.
This is a cool shirt. It's Prince Daddy and the Hyenas recent merch from their tour,
That's
but
so
like the
cool.
Batman shirt. Yeah. Um, no, but that's so cool. I would love to please send me some of your stuff.
Yes, absolutely. My very first comic um had a guy who like a mystic superhero character who had to fight a demon that a punk band summoned at their concert.
Oh,
So
sick. That's
um
so cool.
but yeah, no. I I love using interest. So I mean so much of my writing is like punk influenced
Mhm.
and like I did a whole project for one of my classes creating um like an interactive experience. Do you know what Meow Wolf is? You probably maybe seen it on TikTok. Um
I don't know. It sounds cool though. What is it?
they build kind of like um if you've seen Omega Mart um on TikTok, it's like a mall. There's like a
Oh, whoa,
grocery,
this looks crazy.
it's like a grocery store that has like fake products and then you go through
Yeah,
it
I have seen that.
like
Yeah.
this whole other world. I had to do one of those and I built one based off the Black Parade, which was
Oh,
a lot of
sick.
fun. Um
That's really cool.
yeah. But yeah, no, I will totally send you some of my stuff. I love being able to share stuff with like your work has definitely influenced me. I love Jackson You're Dying. I listen to on repeat when I'm writing sometimes. My
Hmm.
ADHD just loves to find a song that tickles that part of your brain and then just can write forever. Do you have any like kind of along that same thread? Do you have any specific like do you listen to music when you write songs or like does how does listening to music influence your creative work?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm just always listening to music, not necessarily when I write, but like, um, I don't know. Anytime like I'm like not doing something, I'm probably listening to
Yeah.
music. Um, yeah. So I don't know. I feel like that indirectly probably adds to the writing process. But yeah, when I'm writing, I try to like do everything on just an acoustic guitar.
Hmm.
I feel like I've explained this before in some interview, but like the uh the way like I kind of like go about writing music is like I probably have like I don't know 400 voice memos in my phone of just like ideas that are all just like acoustic guitars. Half of those are probably just like a verse or a melody or something.
Yeah.
Um, of those, maybe like there'll be 100 like full versions of songs, and then on my computer there's maybe like 50 demos of those like 100 full versions on my phone, and then there's I don't know, I guess I have like 20 or 30 songs out, like then there's like the actual final version, so
Yeah.
it's like the chopping line, so it's like
Yeah.
goes from like a shit ton of like just voice memos to like more fleshed out just voice memos to like the demos to then like the final stuff I'm working on, so
Yeah.
yeah.
That's really cool. I always love like I know how like my creative process works, but I love always hearing how other people's creative process work because I think to especially to people who aren't in like a creative field, it just seems so like mystifying. It's like, how'd you do this? It's like for me, I just sit at my computer at 2 a.m. trying to write something. And do you typically try to like set aside time for writing music, or is it just kind of whenever inspiration hits for you?
It's a little bit both. Like, I feel like if I haven't like been able to like put if I haven't like felt myself like put in the effort enough, I'll like be like, okay, I need like I'm scheduling this time. Like no matter what the fuck I come up with, like I'm sitting there and writing for this amount of time. Um, so I do that every once in a while, but for the most part, like it's kind of just like I'll just be walking around and I'll like hear a melody in my head. I'm like, all right, let's like grab the guitar and see where that takes me, you know? So it's a bit of both, I would say.
Yeah. Do you have since you're living in, you said Brooklyn now, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
like Williamsburg area. Yep.
oh, cool, cool. Every time I hear Williamsburg area, I think of Williamsburg, Virginia. Uh,
Mhm.
so, but what do you have any like favorite music spots in Brooklyn?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite spot in Brooklyn is probably Brooklyn Steel. That's a bit of a bigger venue. In New York in general, like I there's a spot called LPR. It's technically Le Poisson Rue, I think. It's like it's French. I don't know fucking French, but um, it's a pretty cool like I think it's like 300 cat, maybe 350. It's a pretty small room. But they get really, really dope bands. And I was just at I was just there last Friday. State Champs was doing 3 shows at LPR for like 10 years of the finer things. And that was one of the sickest shows I've ever been to because I've never seen a band like that size in like a really, really small room.
Yeah,
And yeah, the crowd was just fucking nuts. Like it's just cool seeing a band that big and like everyone knows all the words and like no barricades. So you're just like flipping off the stage and shit. So
yeah.
like that's a
That's
that's a really, really fun spot. I've had many good nights there so far.
where was your show at, the one you did in New York?
Yeah, it was a place called the Delancey. And I mean a lot of bands just kind of play these small venues around New York. A lot of bands get their start in these
Yeah,
venues and it's nice money, it's a nice opportunity, and like there's a shit ton of small stages like that. But
yeah.
yeah, it was called the Delancey.
That's really cool. I remember you probably been there. It's in DC, the 930 Club.
Dude, that's my favorite all-time venue. That venue is
Yeah.
crazy.
I saw a few artists there, and then there's the new venue that's by the river. Can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
It's the Anthem. Yeah. The Anthem's pretty cool, but I like how intimate and small the 930 Club is. Um Um, but I remember I went there with one of my friends, and I was still in high school. So my mom dropped us off and she went to find parking. And she said, "Oh, yeah, some guy was helping me parking. I think he was a parking attendant." Well, we go in, get set up, and then the opener comes on. My mom goes, "That was the parking attendant." She didn't get this I don't know if they're like a early 2000s band, Reliant K.
Yeah,
Uh,
of course, of course.
Matt Thiessen talked to my mom, and she thought he was a parking attendant. And
That's so funny,
oh
dude.
my gosh, it was so bad. I was like, no, not the guy that I've listened to for like years. You thought was a parking attendant. Apparently, I was like, was he getting off the tour bus? She was like, yeah, I thought he was like helping the crew, and I was like, no, he was one of the people in the show.
That's an awesome story. That's so
Yeah,
funny.
no, I like, it's so crazy. But I love the 930 Club. I saw um Matt Thiessen wasn't with Reliant K at that point anymore. He was with one of his side projects.
Mhm.
And that was really cool. And then I saw not really a punk band, but AJR. I saw them
Yeah.
perform at the Anthem, which was really cool.
Mhm.
But do you have like a favorite show you've been to?
Favorite show. Honestly, the one that's coming to mind, like I, th- I haven't talked about them once this interview, but the 1975 is one of my favorite bands. And they're honestly the most oddball band out of like the things that I listen to, because it like they don't really sound a lot like my music at all. But there's something about their music that I just really love. Especially their live show. Like that shit was crazy. I saw
Yeah.
them like a month ago at the Prudential Center in New Jersey. We couldn't get tickets to the MSG one, but we went to Jersey for it. Holy shit, that was a good show. Like this, like the set design, like the performances. I mean, they're a 4-piece band, but they brought like 10 people. So like there was barely any backing tracks. It was like everyone was like playing a part. And the sets were just beautiful. And then obviously they just have great songs. So that was an all-time favorite show. Also, I guess seeing MCR was fucking crazy too.
Where did you see MCR? Was that at the when we were young?
Yeah, so I mean that whole day was like fucking crazy. Honestly, it's like almost a blur. But yeah, I went to the first when we were young, when it was Paramore and MCR. I saw Neck Deep that day, Story So Far. Shit, so many bands, man. But I mean, like seeing Paramore and especially MCR was fucking nuts. Like
Yeah.
I was like crying during MCR's set because like I had never seen them. That was my first time seeing them,
Yeah.
and I for a period of time I thought I was never gonna see them. You know?
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I was like, when I got into them, they were disbanded. So I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to see them live.
Exactly. Yeah.
You have a favorite song of theirs?
That's hard. Probably I Don't Love You.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a top one for me.
Oh my gosh, I love the emotion they put in their songs.
Yeah,
Like,
it's crazy.
it's crazy.
I
But
need a modern baseball reunion. If there's a modern baseball reunion, that will probably be my favorite show ever. I have one tattoo and it's a modern baseball tattoo, just
oh,
because.
cool.
Yeah, it's I don't know, something about that band, man.
I'm gonna need to make a playlist after this and to share with this podcast,
Yeah,
just so everyone can hear all the artists you're recommending.
absolutely, that'd be sick.
Because you have such great recommendations, so it's awesome.
Thank
But yeah, I will thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. This was a blast, and I really can't wait for all our listeners to hear this. They're gonna absolutely love it.
AJ, thank you so much. Honestly, this was like one of my favorite interviews. You asked so great questions, and
Thank
I
you.
mean, I'm just glad we're in touch now. I would love to read your comics and carry this relationship forward.
Awesome. Thank